I know that you can change your diet after cancer, but for a lot of people, it's not easy. In a world where we're constantly tempted by processed foods like ice cream or takeout, it can be really hard for anyone to stick to a healthy diet. But there are certain foods that are worse than others in terms of the damage they do to our body at a cellular level, and this damage can lead to cancer or have your cancer return. So if you or a loved one have battled cancer or you're just interested in preventing it, you won't want to miss this video because I'm going over 5 of the top foods that have been scientifically proven to either directly or indirectly cause cancer. One of the biggest issues that cancer patients face is that they don't receive proper education about cancer nutrition from their healthcare providers. Some don't even receive any. This is one of the reasons I started this YouTube channel, and I highly recommend watching this video next, where I explain why most oncologists don't feel comfortable talking to their patients about nutrition, and how it's become a massive problem within our healthcare system. Nutrition should be part of the treatment care plan for all people with cancer, because eating certain foods can actually make your treatments more effective, speed up your healing process afterwards, and help to keep your cancer from coming back. I've also provided you with a link in the description below for an extensive list of cancer-fighting foods, beverages, and herbs that you can either download or better yet, print it out and stick it on your fridge. Cancer cells thrive in an inflammatory environment, so to prevent cancer from developing or growing, reducing inflammation is the name of the game. And there's no better way to reduce inflammation than eating the right foods, but it's also equally as important to stay away from foods that create inflammation. This doesn't mean that you can never enjoy the occasional piece of birthday cake or french fries ever again, but when we eat these foods too often, that's when it becomes a problem because they create chronic inflammation in your body. Signs of chronic inflammation are things like bloating, heartburn, stiff or painful joints, water retention, and the list goes on, honestly. Inflammation can be linked to dozens of nasty health conditions. So let's get right into the 5 worst foods for cancer survivors. First and foremost, please avoid eating processed meats as much as possible. This includes wieners, cold cuts, beef jerky, cured ham, bacon, sausage, pepperoni, basically any meat that's been processed with chemicals to enhance its flavor and prolong its shelf life. So when you're at the grocery store, if you're wondering whether or not a meat product is processed, a good way to tell, is to obviously read the ingredient label, but also check the expiration date. Fresh cuts of meat usually don't even have ingredient labels because it's just the piece of meat itself, or maybe it'll be salted or flavored with a marinade, but it shouldn't contain any preservatives in the ingredient label. Also, it'll likely only have an expiration date of a few days. Processed meat, on the other hand, usually has an expiration date of a week or more, sometimes up to a few months. Gross. And it will have a longer ingredient list with a bunch of preservatives you've likely never even heard of before. Processed meats are preserved with things called nitrates or nitrites, which causes them to be carcinogenic. Nitrate-free meats are available, but they're not necessarily any better because they still contain harmful chemicals. Since I'm going to be talking a lot about carcinogens, I just want to clarify that a carcinogen is something that has been proven to have the ability to cause cancer in humans. The World Health Organization created 4 groups or classifications of carcinogens based on the level of certainty that a product does cause cancer according to the latest scientific research. The food and beverages in Group 1 are 100% known carcinogens and are recommended to be avoided completely. Along with alcohol and tobacco, processed meat is a Group 1 carcinogen. Obviously cancer doesn't develop overnight or by eating the occasional piece of bacon or sausage, but since everything in the Group 1 category is recommended to be avoided completely, everyone should be avoiding processed meats as much as possible, especially cancer survivors. I have another video titled Which Types of Meat Cause Cancer, where I also discuss how much red meat is safe for cancer survivors to be eating. And it's probably a lot less than you think. So I'll link this video in the description below for you. The second type of food you'll want to avoid as much as possible is unfortunately sugar. And I'm sorry if you disagree because your doctor or dietitian told you otherwise, but I will never shut up about how bad sugar is for you. It's been scientifically proven that there are several ways that sugar can indirectly cause cancer. So honestly, with more research, I truly believe that sugar can one day become a Group 1 carcinogen. Mark my words. One of the reasons I felt the need to make this video is because so many cancer survivors think that it's okay to keep eating sugar or whatever they want because their oncologist didn't tell them otherwise. As a healthcare professional with a deep understanding of cancer nutrition, this is so frustrating. Even though most doctors know how bad sugar is for you and how it can lead to things like diabetes, obesity, fatty liver, and cancer, very few of them are telling their patients to cut back on eating sugar. Sugar is one of, if not the worst food for creating inflammation in the body. It increases inflammation in your gut, which leads to a condition called leaky gut syndrome, and a lot of people have this condition without even knowing it. This happens because eating too much sugar throws your gut microbiome out of balance. This means that there's more bad than good bacteria in your gut, which then creates inflammation and leads to all those nasty health conditions. So how do we even begin to cut back on sugar when it's so delicious and addictive, and we're programmed as humans to crave it? Well, I'm linking another video for you to watch next on how to cut out sugar for 30 days. Doing this 30-day challenge has been life-changing for so many people because after doing it, they realize that the less sugar they eat, the less they crave it. And once you do eat sugar after not eating it for a month, you may find that you don't feel so well, which just goes to show how awful it is for you. So if you're someone that craves sweets, I highly recommend watching that video next. The third type of food you'll want to avoid as much as possible after cancer is white flour or anything made from it. This includes white pasta, white bread, most cakes, pastries, and cereals. White flour has been nicknamed the glue of the gut or the other sugar, and for very good reason. Most people don't know that white flour is actually just as bad for you as white sugar because as far as your blood sugar is concerned, your body can't tell the difference between a teaspoon of white sugar and a teaspoon of white flour. In fact, the glycemic index of white flour is even worse than for sugar. When you eat white flour, your blood sugar levels shoot up because it rapidly passes through your bloodstream, and the sudden rise in blood sugar triggers a rapid release of insulin. This gives you a boost of energy followed by a crash, leaving you feel tired and down. Yep, eating sugar can also affect your mood, which I'll get into in another video, but to deal with high blood sugar levels, your body is forced to store excess sugar as fat. You probably already knew this about sugar, but it's the same with white flour. Flour isn't naturally white. It's made from whole wheat flour that has been stripped of all of its fiber and nutrients, and it's full of sugar and starches that can lead to insulin resistance, heart disease, obesity, diabetes, and cancer. And you may be wondering, what about enriched white flour? That's healthier, right? Unfortunately not. Don't be fooled by that. The small amount of vitamins or minerals that are added back into enriched flour or pasta don't replace the numerous amounts of natural nutrients and fiber that were lost or destroyed in creating the white flour. So when you're looking for healthier alternatives to white pasta or white bread, look for products made with chickpea flour, buckwheat, amaranth, coconut flour, whole wheat flour, quinoa, almond, or lentil flour. As more and more people become more health conscious, there's more products like this on the market. You can find a lot of breads, pastas, bagels, wraps, or even desserts made with these healthier types of flour that are so good you won't even notice the difference. The fourth type of food to avoid after cancer is raw food. This pertains more to people who are still going through treatment or those who have recently finished because cancer treatment tends to weaken your immune system and it won't be able to protect you as well from potentially harmful bacteria like E. coli or Salmonella. Things like raw fish or seafood, unpasteurized dairy products, and soft cheeses like brie can all contain bacteria that can make you very sick. Normally your body would be able to cope with these types of bacteria, but if you have a compromised immune system, you could develop a severe infection. Other things to avoid for the exact same reason are raw eggs, undercooked meat, vegetable sprouts, or underwashed produce. To be cautious, I'd even wash any produce that has been pre-washed, like bags of lettuce or spinach, because they are notorious for carrying bacteria like E. coli. Now the fifth type of food to avoid as much as possible after cancer is basically anything deep fried from a restaurant. I know, everything tastes better deep fried, it sucks. But the reason I said to specifically avoid deep fried foods from restaurants is because restaurants tend to use inexpensive oils, like processed vegetable or seed oils, which when heated to high temperatures, turn into saturated or trans fats that are really hard for your body to break down, and they cause a number of health problems like high cholesterol, obesity, chronic inflammation, hypertension, and cancer. Now you may be wondering if deep frying at home with a healthier type of oil is just as bad for you. And no, it is potentially healthier to deep fry at home. The type of oil used for frying heavily influences the health risks associated with fried foods. Some oils can withstand much higher temperatures than others and are therefore safer to use, like coconut, avocado, or olive oil. Using these healthier oils can decrease the risks associated with eating fried foods. Overall, deep fried foods are higher in calories, sugar, and salt. And they're highly addictive, so it's easier to eat a lot of them. For example, one baked potato contains around 130 calories and about 0.2 grams of fat. Now, if we take that same potato, cut it into fries, and deep fry them, it'll contain 430 calories and around 20 grams of fat. So people who eat fried foods regularly tend to eat an extra 500 calories a day. This is why any weight loss diet will tell you to avoid eating fried foods. However, if you have an air fryer, that's a much healthier option. I bought one a couple years ago and it's been my new best friend. I've been able to make some amazing recipes that are much healthier alternatives to, say, popcorn chicken, sweet potato fries, or fried Brussels sprouts. At the end of the day, you don't have to eat 100% clean 100% of the time. But it's important to be aware of some of the worst foods to eat after cancer, so if you do choose to have them as a treat, you eat them within moderation. 2 things I personally find really helpful to stay on track with healthy eating are 1, surrounding yourself with healthy foods that you want to eat rather than ones that you want to avoid. And 2, fill up on healthy meals and snacks so that you're less likely to reach for junk food when you're hungry. If you enjoyed this video, watch the ones in the description below that I've linked for you next, and I'll see you in the next one.